So, there we go. Friday. So here we go. We're gonna watch. We're gonna watch some Deadbeat. We're gonna finish this drawing over here, over here, over here, over here. So yeah, this is what the plan is today. And I've just been rehearsing. It's like locked in, so you don't really. All right.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims of our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Alien, released in 1979, and potentially the most influential film I'll ever talk about on the Kill Count. I mean, this shit's preserved in the Library of Congress. Despite its obvious science fiction setting and subject matter, Alien is just as much a horror film as it is sci-fi, using the classic structure of a murderer stalking down a group of people until there's only one survivor left. Just in this case, the murderer is an extraterrestrial, and the group of victims is the crew of a spaceship. Alien launched the careers of many involved into full-blown stardom, including director Ridley Scott and star Sigourney Weaver, who plays the iconic character Ellen Ripley. Weaver would reprise the role in all three of the original Alien sequels, which I'll be covering over the course of this month. The sequels quickly become more action than horror, and eventually get pretty freaking ridiculous, but all of them and everything else in this universe, the comics, the games, the novels, can be traced back to this film and the original characters that got murdered so memorably. So let's pay some respects and get to the kids. The movie begins in the year 2122, with a spaceship, the Nostromo, and the giant hull it's tugging, headed back home towards Earth. Everything aboard the ship is quiet as a space mouse, since the crew is fast asleep in their hibernation beds. That is, until the ship receives a message and tells its crew to rise and shine. This zombie-looking fella is Kane, and he's doing a perfect imitation of what I look like every morning when I wake up for work. In fact, since we've only got a 7-person crew here, let's meet them all real quick. Like I said, the early bird of the group is Kane, the second in command, played by the late John Hurt. Fellow Brit Ian Holm of Bag End plays Science Officer Ash. There are two technicians, Chief Engineer Parker, played by Mr. Big himself, Yaphet Kotto, while the late Harry Dean Stanton plays Brett, whose thing is always saying right. Right, Brett?
Right.
The navigator is Lambert, played by Veronica Cartwright, in a role that won her a Saturn, and the captain of this hunk of junk is Dallas, played by Tom Skerritt-Beard. And of course, there's Ripley herself, who is the third in command. After a wake-up meal, Dallas goes to his little bright light cubbyhole and talks to the ship's AI, named Mother, where he learns that their alarm went off way too early and that they're nowhere near Earth. Whoa!
Only halfway there.
Whoa! They're living on a prayer, all because Mother intercepted a beacon system, although it's unclear who it's from or what it means. Despite some resistance from the technicians, Ash says the crew is contractually obligated to the company to go check it out. They detach from their payload and land the Nostromo on the planet that the signal is coming from. But the landing rocks the boat baby, and while it doesn't tip the boat over, it does damage it pretty bad. The tech crew tells the others it's going to take a while to fix it.
She's 17 hours, fella.
At least 25 hours.
Well, that's going on. Might as well go check out that signal, right?
Right.
So Dallas, Kane, and Lambert suit up and venture out to the inhospitable surface of this rock, and Ash and his spirit fingers guides them from the bridge. They discover a crashed ship that kind of looks like a wishbone, like the Bone, not the delightful storytelling dog. And determined to get some sweet, sweet marrow, they head inside and find a truly awesome image. This oversized alien dubbed the Space Jockey by fans, looking like he's trying to find a new planet or something. It appears as though he's been dead for a while, like possibly millennia, and that the cause of death was an acute case of hole in the chest.
Odds have been out like he exploded from inside.
While Lambert and Dallas play corner, Kane finds a big old hole in the ground. He repels down it and into a gigantic freaking chamber that's got some crazy blue stuff squiggling all over some eggs.
There's a layer of mist just covering the egg.
Something in the mist! And that something is Kane. This clumsy ass fell inside, right next to a whole bunch of them eggs. While he's checking them out, one of them blossoms like a beautiful butterfly. And as Kane peers inside, he gets a face full of aliens when the newborn creature jumps out and gets friendly. Meanwhile, back on the Nostromo, Ripley decodes some of the transmission and discovers that it's not an SOS signal.
It looks like a warning.
Ash prevents her from going out and warning the others, saying it'll take too long, and he's not wrong since they're back pretty soon thereafter. Dallas and Lambert tell Ripley to let them in, but when they mention the organism sucking face with Kane, she brings up a good point.
If we let it in, the ship could be infected. You know the quarantine procedure.
Dallas tries to order her to open the doors, but she stands her ground like a total boss until she's undercut by Ash, who opens the hatch for them on his own. They saw Kane's helmet in half, but when they remove the pieces, the facehugger alien just tightens its grip. Same thing happens when they try to pry off those nasty-looking crab legs. It just hugs Kane harder to show how much he loves him. A scan shows the alien is keeping Kane alive by feeding him oxygen, and although Ash kind of wants to just let the thing be, Dallas insists on taking a laser to it so they can free Kane's face. That just results in some nasty yellow blood that appears to be acidic.
That crap can eat through the hull.
That thing's gonna eat through the goddamn hull. Come on!
They chase it down layer by layer and find that it's thankfully stopped short of giving the Nostromo a free new portal. Dallas tries to zen out with some classical music, but he's called to the med bay because Kane's face is moving awfully bald all of a sudden. Y'all gonna go leave him lots of comments too? After a brief search, the alien falls from the ceiling onto Ripley, but it appears to be dead, with nothing left to offer but some post-mortem reflexes. Ripley wants to jettison the corpse, but Ash insists they hold on to it for science. Ripley tries to get Dallas to agree with her, but he says Ash is a company man and that they've got to follow the company plan.
Standard procedure is to do what the hell they tell you to do.
He also mentions Ash was a last-minute replacement of Dallas' usual science officer. With the ship repaired, they take off from the planetoid and connect back to their moneymaker so they can shake it back to Earth. Kane appears to be doing much better, despite a little bit of memory loss, so everything's great. Have a round of smiles on the house, Nostromo crew. It'll be the last time you're able to, because while eating a pre-Betty Bye meal, Kane starts coughing, and it's not because of Dallas' cooking. Nope, he's just rearing up for one of the most memorable scenes in film history. A phallic-looking alien bursts from his chest, getting blood all over everyone else, and giving us our first kill of the movie nearly a full hour in. Just like that, this movie became a classic. This thing is obviously one nasty bitch, but when Parker goes to kill it, Ash freaks out like someone stole his ring. Chesty the Chestburster makes his getaway, leaving the crew to say a solemn goodbye to their fallen crewmate by giving him a burial at space. They then arm themselves up with cattle prods and nets and this nozzle thing that makes it look like they're about to blow up an air mattress for the alien to crash on. The nozzle box is supposed to help them locate the alien, but when it starts going off, the only thing Ripley and the text manage to find is Jonesy the cat. Space cat. He's meowing in space. Parker tells Brett to go get the cat so they won't pick it up on the tracker again, and wandering off by yourself right now sure seems like a great idea, right?
Right.
So Brett leads them and begins another memorable sequence as he searches for Jonesy. During his search, he finds some nasty skin on the ground and some water dripping from a room that they probably wound up reusing for Hellraiser Bloodline. I had to look up where the water was coming from because I was so grossed out by the way Brett friggin' baptizes himself in it. But I guess it's just condensation from cooling towers. Still feels nasty. Brett finally finds Jonesy hiding by a wall. The full-grown alien drops behind him and lifts up his big old dome head. Brett turns around to become our second kill of the film, getting impaled by the alien's second set of teeth that shoot out of his mouth like a powerful little piston. Jonesy watches it all go down with the trademark impassivity of a cat. The rest of the crew figures out that the alien is using the air ducts to move around, so Dallas volunteers to chase him out into an airlock so they can blast him into space. As they monitor his progress on an Atari screen, they also pick up a signal on the alien.
It's moving right towards you.
Lambert tells Dallas to move, but he heads the wrong way, straight into the arms of an alien. Now's a good time to mention that I'm working for the theatrical release, so don't expect to see Cocoon Dallas later. Lambert wants to take the shuttle and escape the ship, but Ripley says it won't support the 4 remaining survivors, so they're going to stick to Dallas's plan. And since she's now in command, they've got to do what she said. Her promotion also wins her access to the VIP Bright Light room, where she has a mother-daughter talk and finds out that the ship was rerouted specifically to pick the alien up and bring it back to the company
For procurement managers, Granger is the go-to partner that helps keep your healthcare facilities ready for patients. Because there's no time to manage orders and deliveries from multiple suppliers, Granger offers everything in one place. From disinfectant.
science. True, expensive. When Ash Peekaboo's behind her, she will manhandles him so roughly he starts bleeding out milk? What? Then he attacks Ripley, tearing her hair out and just throwing her around, which should tell us something's up since she's got at least 6 inches on it easy. He takes a rolled-up magazine and tries to kill her with it like he's the world's worst dog owner, but Parker shows up to get him off of her. Ash gives him a titty twister, so Parker pays him back by hitting him with a pipe, which causes the science officer to start whirling like a dervish and spitting up milk like a drunk newborn. Parker hits him once more and decapitates him, revealing that Ash is no man.
It's a robot. She's a goddamn robot.
They hotwire his head so they can be like, what the fuck, man? And he just tells them they're straight up bone because that alien is a perfect organism. Alright, dude, sounded a little master race there. So how about we just shut it down? To make sure he's permanently decommissioned, Parker torches his robot corpse with a flamethrower. And I'll add Ash to the list because he was practically a person. Just, you know, with milk, blood, and a head you could hotwire. With one less body to support, they decide to go with Lambert's plan to evacuate on the shuttle, but only after setting the Nostromo to self-destruct. Ripley preps the shuttle, which includes tracking down Jonesy and putting him in his little space carrier, as Lambert and Parker go get coolant that they'll need for the shuttle's life support. But the alien strongly opposes life, and he shows up and freaks Lambert out so much he's unable to move or do anything. Parker charges in to save her, but the alien knocks him down and bares his teeth. Parker is killed like Brett, the alien's second mouth. The alien then turns towards Lambert, and very suggestively extends his tail and wraps it around her leg. This is the last shot we see of Lambert, who we hear screaming through the ship as Ripley runs to save her. When she gets there, she only finds a dangling leg. This death may seem a little jarring because it was actually put together during editing after they ran out of time to shoot the original idea for her death. Ripley presses onward with the plan to nuke the Nostromo, activating the self-destruct sequence that'll only give her 10 minutes to get back to the shuttle and abandon the ship. Sucks for her then, when there's a freaking alien in her way. Don't blame him, he's just jonesing for another kill. Ripley's determined not to give it to him, running back through the Nostromo to try to control Z that whole self-destruct idea. But she's too late, and Mother says no take that. It's like she caught Ripley smoking a cigarette, and now she's gonna smoke the whole ship. With no other option available, Ripley makes her way back to the shuttle, which turns out to be easier than expected because that alien's nowhere to be found. She takes off in the shuttle, watching in her rearview mirror as the Nostromo and its payload have a supernova-like explosion that winds up giving us a little Stargate look. Yep, things seem to be looking up for Ellen Ripley, and Jonesy too, who gets settled into a pod for a little cat nap. Then the alien shows its hand and reveals he's a goddamn stowaway on the shuttle. Looks like he's nestled up real cozy in there, climbing over everything as he pleases. As the alien shows off his talents for Ripley, she gears up in a spacesuit and grabs a harpoon gun. Then she flushes the alien out of his specialized, getting him nice and free, then opens the shuttle and blasts the alien into space. He tries to hang in there, baby, but she shoots him with her harpoon, hitting him in the gut, and finally getting that alien out of there. Too bad the gun gets stuck in the floor, leaving this buggy bastard tethered to the shuttle. Ripley watches as he tries to get back in by way of thruster, but she punches it and burns him away, incinerating him in the engine blast and ending her nightmare once and for all. I've decided not to include the alien on the count because I've seen the sequels and I don't want to count all the xenomorphs that die in them. Assuming Ripley ends her adventure with her captain's log, supplemental, saying that everyone else on board is dead.
Mrs. Ripley, last survivor of the Nostromo, signing off.
She finishes and goes to sleep for one well-deserved rest in stasis. Someone better have a cup of coffee. Hope she's able to sleep all right after seeing all her friends die like that. And how many exactly were killed? Let's find out and get to the numbers. 5 people and an android died in Alien, tying child's play for our lowest kill count to date. Of the victims, 4 were human men, 1 was a human woman, and Ash was a douchey alien. That's, this ratio. Whatever. At a runtime of 117 minutes, that comes out to a kill on average every 19.5 minutes. I believe our slowest rate yet. Correct me if I'm wrong. Golden Chainsaw for coolest kill has to go to Pink. I knew it, you knew it, we all knew it. Yeah, Ash's death is dope as hell too. Just in terms of legendary scenes, there's nothing in this series that'll compare to this kill. Dalmache for lamest kill will go to Dallas. He gets killed off screen in what is possibly just a big old alien hug. And that's it. Alien was released in 1979, and I can't really say much more about the impact it had, so I won't. I will say I never saw any of the sequels until watching them for this series, so you'll get my fresh opinion on Aliens when I go over that next week. Until then, I'm James H. Neese. It's been the Kill Count. Hey, thanks a lot for watching my Kill Count for Alien. I want to thank some of my patrons like Christopher Walter, William Shannon, and Brandon Espen. Guys, I had no idea all the lore that goes into the Alien movie. To be honest, I'm feeling vastly underprepared to cover this series, but I'm gonna do it. It's just so much to learn. Like this guy isn't even from Alien. He's from Alien Covenant, which is maybe different. I don't know. Don't fucking spoil it for me. Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Aliens, the 1986 sequel to Alien, written and directed by James Cameron. Aliens follows Ellen Ripley after she's rescued from hypersleep and brought back to civilization. She ends up joining a marine mission to the same planetoid she found the original alien on, determined to destroy the species once and for all. Cameron wrote this sequel to focus, quote, more on terror, less on horror. The change in tone is apparent. This is much more an action sci-fi film than the quiet, dreadful stalking of the original, serving as a sort of allegory for the Vietnam War, with technologically superior and competent Marines getting outmatched by what they see as an inferior enemy. Aliens is like the original, though, and that's a really freaking good movie. It got 7 Academy Award nominations, including one for Sigourney Weaver, which is a rarity for a genre film like this. And of course, it's got way more aliens, which means way more kills. So let's find out how many and get to them. The movie begins in space. Ripley's still fast asleep when her shuttle gets picked up by another ship. A movie projector-looking robot comes in and finds her and Jonesy in the middle of a damn good cuddle session. Space cat. He's napping in space. Then Ripley turns into Mother Earth because now she's back home. Or, close enough. She's at Gateway Station, which orbits Earth, and it turns out she's doing okay. She gets a visit from Jonesy and this dude Carter Burke, who says he works for Weyland Yutani, the shadowy company referenced in the original film. Don't let this fool really Ripley is skeptical. He also drops the bombshell that she's been in stasis for 57 years, having shot past the core systems and only picked up by a deep salvage team by chance. Then she starts convulsing in a very John Hurdian manner and lifts up her shirt to find that she is with Alien. But not really, since it's just a dream. Well, more like a nightmare, since Jonesy was all pissed off at her in it. But no worries, in the waking world, Jonesy loves her just as much as ever. Good kid. Good time to point out I'm once again working from the theatrical cut, so nothing about Ripley's dead daughter or the colonist scenes are going to be in here. During a meeting with company higher-ups, they play an in memoriam PowerPoint for the Nostromo crew and yell at Ripley for blowing up that expensive payload they had been trucking. The ship logs show how it landed on LV-426, the name given to the planetoid was a wishbone ship, but corporate man says there was no evidence of an alien and that the supposed species has never been reported before. When Ripley tells him to check it out for himself, he says there's no need, because colonists have been terraforming it for 20 years now with no complaints. After some time, Ripley gets a visit Burt gets his way back in by saying they've lost contact with the colonists on LV-426 and that they want Ripley to go with him, Lieutenant Gorman, and a group of Marines to see what's going on. She says no, no, no at first, but later on hits up Burke on Omegle to tell him she'll go, as long as the mission is to destroy the alien.
Plan. Yeah, but we're...
All right, she's in. She leaves Jonesy behind and blasts into space again, where there's a whole list of future victims sleeping in hibernation beds. They wake up and get straight to character work, chomping on cigars and doing pull-ups to display physical fortitude. The crew this time around is a lot bigger than an alien, but let's meet the important characters real fast. The sergeant of the grunts is Apone, who's got a voice that sounds like it's straight from an old LP.
Fall in, people, come on.
Corporal Hicks is the generic-looking dude who winds up being real important. Private Vasquez is this tough lady grunt, and she has a close relationship with fellow big gunner Drake, like the please slap me a little harder kind. The late Bill Paxton plays Hudson, an outspoken private whose big mouth gets him in trouble when he asks technician Bishop to do a knife trick. As Drake holds Hudson in place, Bishop gets dancing. Bishop heads back over to the grown-ups table with Burke and Gorman, where Ripley learns that he's a synthetic, aka an android.
I prefer the term artificial person myself.
Okay, artificial person. Whatever the term is, Ripley ain't having it, having formed a bit of a prejudice from that whole magazine-to-the-mouth ordeal with Ash. During a mission briefing, newbie Lieutenant Gorman fails to obtain the respect from his grunts, and Ripley warns them all about the xenomorph's efficiency. The Marines start loading up for the mission with this power loader suit that was done with all practical effects, so it looks frickin' amazing. Things so fine, Ripley can't help but slide into it real nice and show off her skills operating it, which wins the respect of Apone and Hicks. They're going to be traveling down to the planet in an APC designed by Lucius Fox, so they load into it, and Bishop drives it onto the shuttle piloted by Corporal Farrow and Private Spunkmeyer. The shuttle drops from the ship and breaks through the newly formed atmosphere of LV-426 with the line from Farrow that was later used in StarCraft.
We're in the fight. Bye.
I don't know what that means, but I played a lot of StarCraft as a kid. That was exciting to hear. During their descent, Gorman reveals that this is only his second actual mission, provoking more ire from his subordinates. Farrow drops the APC off and flies away, and the Marines unload to check out the colony, named Hadley's Hope, leaving the less combating flying crew to watch on monitor. Inside the colony, things look pretty rough, and although there are no life forms or movement getting picked up by their sensors, they do find evidence of nastiness in the form of a hole in the floor, which corroborates Ripley's tale of the alien.
That's it for blood.
Gorman says the area is secure, and despite Ripley being like, nah, it ain't, they head inside anyway, finding evidence of a barrier and a last stand against whatever attack REKT wrecked this place. They do find a pretty big clue in the form of a bunch of face huggers and tubes, kept there for study by the colonists. 2 of them are still alive, giving us a good look at them. Oh shit, am I allowed to show this? Because it looks like a pea coming out of a V. Yeah, let's just cover that up from now on. Their motion trackers finally pick something up, and it turns out to be a feral-looking kid who Ripley follows into a hiding place that's so messy it might very well have a Dianoga hanging out down there. The girl's name is Rebecca, but her friends call her Newt. Tell us about your family, Newt.
Dad,
Oh, yeah, okay. Sorry. They scan for data transmitters that all the colonists had implanted in them and locate them all in a single location on the 3rd sublevel. They get down there and either the colonists had some weird interior decorators or they've got an alien problem. Ripley realizes that they're directly underneath the cooling system for the colony's fusion reactor and that any breach would cause a nuclear meltdown. So Apone collects everyone's rounds, even though a few little troublemakers hold on to some contraband for themselves, just in case. They get to their target destination and find 2 bodies in cocoons. They see these 2 clearly, let's say it's 1 dude and 1 lady, so I'll go ahead and add them to the list. But just so you know, I won't be including the 150-odd colonists who must have been killed off screen. Nor will I include dead aliens like these facehugger corpses or any of the multitudes of xenomorph warriors that get killed throughout this movie. I'm doing these things to have fun and make jokes, guys, not stare at slow motion footage and count exploding aliens all day. But don't worry, there are still plenty of kills to count, like this lady who wakes up and begs the Marines to kill her. They don't listen, and instead a chestburster fulfills her request, popping out through her torso for a great little cameo, since this will be the only time we see a chestburster in this movie. They flame torch the hell out of that mess and kill the chestburster, so everything's good, right? Nah, dog, you got a real bad infestation of aliens that come out of the walls and abduct Private Dietrich, who winds up shooting off her flamethrower and catching Private Frost on fire, somewhat ironically. He falls over a ledge to his death many levels below. Looks like Frost got toasty! Dietrich is pulled up into the ceiling, and while they mention later that she's still showing signs of life on her measurement stuff, I'm gonna put her on the kill count here since it's the last time we see her. Amidst all the chaos going on, a pack with live ammunition is caught in the fire. It explodes and sends Private Crow across the room, breaking his neck and killing him unceremoniously, but let's be real, we're just thinning the herd right now. Same case with Private Wierzbowski, who was killed off screen as Hicks calls after him. Why'd they name that guy Wierzbowski if they knew Hicks was gonna have to call out for him?
Wierzbowski! Wierzbowski!
Doesn't quite roll off the tongue. Gorman tries to take control over the Marines and stop their firing, but it doesn't do any good. Even Apone has a hard time getting them under control, especially after an alien descends and grabs him. His monitor goes out, and I'm chalking him up on the list. But again, like Dietrich, it sounds like the alien saved him for later, and he likely wound up getting chest burst. Frustrated with Gorman's ineptitude, Ripley takes the wheel because apparently she's Batmobile certified. She breaks the walls down, Chris Jericho style, so the grunts can all get rescued. But on their way out, Vasquez shoots a xenomorph that explodes and sprays Drake with his acid blood, melting his face and putting him down for the 8th kill of the movie. Sad day for Vasquez. I really like their macho relationship that maybe was romantic, question mark. The remaining grunts get the heck out of there, and during Ripley's road rage, she ends up running over a xenomorph and crushing his head, which I only include here because it's dope as hell. Now that they're safe, Bill Paxton feels free to let loose with his character actions.
This ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This ain't happening.
Ripley says she wants to
The
take
game
off.
over, man.
It's the only way to be sure.
But Burke is an upstanding capitalist and doesn't want to destroy all the valuable equipment here. Ripley points out Corporal Hicks is now in charge since the higher-ranking officers are all alien food, and he's more than happy to go with Ripley's plan.
It's the only way to be sure.
They call Pharaoh and ask for an evac, so she and Spunkmeyer prepare to take off. He finds some goop on the ramp, and I ain't talking about
game
goop
over,
products.
man.
This is the last shot we see of Spunky, so I'll add him to the list right now, because in a second, Pharaoh's going to call for him on the radio and get no response. The Corporal doesn't Pharaoh much better. It's on her way to the evac point, the xenomorph just waltzes into the room, and before she can grab a weapon to do anything about it, he kills her. And if it's one stereotype we all know is true, it's that xenomorphs are lousy pilots, as evidenced when the shuttle crashes and burns, which pretty much takes away any hope from the survivors.
That's it, man. Game over, man.
Ripley and co. bunker down and take stock of their supplies, knowing it's going to take 17 days for another evac to come for them. They find a way to secure their location by welding certain doors shut, and Hicks is so impressed by Ripley's badassery, he gives her a friendship bracelet, which acts as a locator. But later on, when Ripley's putting Newt to bed, she re-gifts the bracelet to her. Rude. Ripley logics out that the aliens would need a facehugger for each colonist, and that each facehugger comes from an egg.
So who's laying these eggs?
When she tells Bishop to destroy the remaining facehuggers, he tells her Burke explicitly ordered him not to so they can bring them home for profit. Also, Ripley finds out that Burke was the one who sent the colonists out to the Wishbone ship in the first place, single-handedly kicking off the destruction of Hadley's Hope. Bishop points out some emergency venting that means the fusion cooling system was damaged by the ship's crash, so in 4 hours there's going to be a nuke going off in the lab. There is another shuttle on board their spaceship, but the only working equipment to send a signal up there is far away, on the other side of the colony. So Bishop takes the opportunity to prove how not ass she is by volunteering to crawl his ass down this pipeline like he's Android Dufresne. When he emerges out the other side, he plugs into a satellite dish to call up to the ship in orbit and remote pilot the other shuttle out of its bed. After she has a romantic gun training session with Hicks, Ripley checks in on Newt and has a slumber party with her under the bed. She wakes up later to see a mess on the ground, meaning someone's been creeping in the bedroom. Next thing you know, a facehugger attacks her, and although she puts it to bed for a mo, she's unable to get out since the doors to her room appear to be locked, and the windows are pretty chair-proof. Her attempts at signaling the others through the Newt monitor in the room are ignored and turned off by one Carter J. Burke, who at this point has completed a full heel turn. Ripley smartly gets everyone's attention by triggering the fire alarms, but the facehugger's still trying to get that thrusty, and probably would have gotten it if not for Hicks busting through the window, and, along with the other Marines, saving her. Ripley figures out that Burke set the facehuggers loose on her and Newt to impregnate them and get alien embryos back home to make them dolls. They're all ready to execute him when the lights go out, which is our cue for the last big act to begin. Ripley realizes the aliens have taken a higher path. Yeah, that's gonna be a problem. The aliens drop down and there's a huge firefight, which of course Burke runs from, locking the door behind him to block out the others. Hudson takes down a whole bunch
I don't know why I decided to stop on that.
Bunch of aliens before one pops up from the floor and drags him down, pulling him away completely to kill him off screen and render the Marines at least 50% quiet. Game over, man. So while he's doing his coward's retreat, Burke opens another door to find a badass Xenomamma Jamma who bares his teeth and eats him off screen. Pretty disappointing. I think everyone wanted to watch this guy suffer. Newt has the Marines go through the air ducts to escape, but the Xenomorphs follow, and even though Vasquez is able to take a bunch down with her badassery and firepower, an acid blast critically slows her down. Gorman goes back to save her, but when he runs out of ammo, there's only one thing left to do. The two Marines bond over a game of upper hand on Gorman's grenade and set off an explosion that instantly kills the two of them together, as well as a couple of Xenomorphs. The blast knocks Newt down this windmill thing, and she winds up sliding down a little nuke chute far from safe hands. Hicks is like, good thing you regifted my friendship bracelet, because now they can use it to locate her. They find her under a floor grate, but before they can saw through it to rescue her from what surely must be some nasty, stinky water, an alien rises up from it and abducts Newt, leaving nothing behind but the head of her little doll. Jesus, it's just a doll. Calm down. On their way out, Hicks shoots one more alien in the face and suffers from the resulting acid blast. This pretty much decommissions the guy for the rest of the movie, which is a bit of a bummer, but what are you going to do with a chest full of acid? Bishop lands the new shuttle, and the three of them get aboard. Then Ripley makes the android pilot it back into the colony so she can arm herself up with a duct-tape super weapon and go save Newt. She takes an elevator down to sublevel 2, and I just want to point out that the lift automatically goes back up behind her. It'll help things make sense later. She eventually finds the friendship bracelet, sans one Newt, and thinks the worst has happened. But Newt's just chilling in a resin hammock. No worries. She's also getting a graphic sex ed experience when she watches an egg hatch and sees a nasty little face hugger start climbing out. She screams, which Ripley hears, and follows to her cocoon, tearing away the webbing and saving that little girl from the horrors of an alien education. On their way out, they find themselves smack dab in the middle of an alien's maternity ward. There's a bunch of eggs all around them, apparently each one deposited by this nasty-looking egg sac thing, and at the end of that egg sac, Big Mama Xenomorph, Queen Bitch herself. The sight of her puts Ripley's heart in the basement. Her weekend's at an all-time low. Warrior Xenomorphs start approaching, so Ripley shows the Queen what her flamethrower can do and points it threateningly at her eggs. The Queen understands and somehow signals to the other aliens to back the fuck off. Ripley starts to retreat, but when she sees another egg hatch, she says fuck it and starts torching everything in sight. It really upsets the Queen, so much so that after Ripley and Newt escape the hive room, the Queen just detaches herself from her birthing tube to give chase. Ripley makes it back to the elevators and calls both of them down. The Queen comes around the corner and watches as Ripley makes her escape on the first elevator. When the second elevator comes down and opens its doors, Queen's all, don't mind if I do. Ripley gets up to the platform only to find that Bishop and the shuttle are gone. The place starts falling apart and the second elevator starts automatically returning to the platform, just like earlier. Package here for Ripley. Someone order an alien queen? Before Ripley can sign for it, Bishop returns to the shuttle and extends a staircase that Newt and Ripley climb up. The ship gets knocked around a bit and we see one of the 3 landing gears fold up. We don't see the other 2. Bishop pilots the shuttle away right as the nuclear blast goes off, ending Harper's hope once and for all and giving the survivors the mistaken belief that their ordeal is over. Mistaken because, of course, Big Mom stowed away on that landing gear, as they learn when Bishop gets impaled through the back and spews out milk all over everyone. Nasty. The alien queen lifts him up and then tears him straight in half, sending his torso sliding across the floor. This would definitely be the golden chainsaw if it actually killed him, but it didn't. Sorry, Queen. Chainsaw's up for close. Newt hides under a floor panel as Ripley gets behind a big door, and when the Queen starts tearing off the floor grates to get at Newt, Ripley returns with a power loader mech suit and the most memorable line of the movie.
Get away from her, you bitch!
They have a pretty kick-ass fight that involves a lot of mechanized grappling and royal tail whipping, and Queen Alien almost gets Ripley with her second mount, but eventually Ripley is able to open the pod bay doors to hell and drop the Queen right down into it. Too bad the AQ latches onto her and drags her down too. Ripley starts escaping and opens the door into space, which creates a vacuum that starts sucking everything out. Newt, half a Bishop, the mech suit, everything must go! The alien Queen tries to grab onto Ripley's kicks, but Ripley was done with that pair anyway. Off comes the shoe, and out goes the alien queen, getting sucked into outer space, just like the alien drone did in the original. Bishop saves Newt from a similar fate, and Ripley closes the pod bay doors hell, so the 3 of them can lie there in victory. Bishop is bagged like dry cleaning, and he and Hicks are put under in the stasis vest. After one last sweet little goodnight, Ripley and Newt join them as well. Let's not sleep on this kill count, though, because this sequel more than doubled the kills of the original. How many exactly? Let's find out and get to the numbers. By my count, 15 humans died in Aliens. 10 of them were male and 5 were female, meaning there was a 2-to-1 ratio of dudes to ladies dying. With the theatrical cut's runtime of 137 minutes, that comes out to a kill on average every 9.13 minutes. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to the lady colonist they found still alive. Most of these kills are quick and dark or off-screen, so I'm gonna just fall back on the old chest-bursting classic. Dull Machete goes to Burke, hands down. All I wanted was to see this guy have a gnarly death, and goddamn did they deserve it. And that's it. Released in 1986, 7 years after the original, Aliens is sometimes considered the superior film, although I'm not sure if I'd agree. Regardless of the ranking, both of these are incredible movies, which can't exactly be said about the two sequels that follow. I'll get to the first of those, Alien 3, next week. But until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been The Kill Count. Hey guys, thanks a lot for watching my Kill Count for Alien. If you missed my episode on the original film, make sure you click the thing down there to go watch it. I want to thank some of my patrons like Tim Ollie, Aaron Slattery, and Lester Garcia. You guys can join the Patreon family too by clicking that button over there. I just released a live commentary of The Babysitter. If you want to check that out, get in on it, man. Next week is Alien 3, directed by David Fincher, even though he's not a big fan of it. Welcome to The Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're talking about Alien 3, released in 1992 after years of development hell. The first two Alien movies are masterpieces. This one is not. It's a real weird amalgamation of at least 3 different story ideas and a whole lot of people behind the scenes trying to control what the movie was. Director David Fincher basically disowns the thing. And although there's a special edition assembly that's very different and probably better, I'm using the theatrical cut for this video, so we can all see how much of a mess this was when audiences saw it in theaters back in '92. Alien 3 marks another tonal departure from its predecessors, eschewing most of the action and sci-fi elements in favor of nihilistic melodrama. It follows Ripley as she finds herself stranded with an alien on a prison planet turned foundry populated by a bunch of murderers and rapists. All these dudes have shaved heads and barely any personality, which is a huge bummer coming off the colorful cast we had in the first two. Thankfully, they're just as good at dying as the memorable folk from those movies, so let's get to the kills. The movie begins with a problem. In between opening credits, we see that an alien egg somehow made it onto the Sulaco, the ship from the end of Aliens. A facehugger is born, and in the process of hugging some face, something happens to it that causes it to bleed and create smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire, and the fire sets off an alarm on the ship that drops all the cryobeds into an EEV, an emergency escape vehicle. The EEV is jettisoned from the Sulaco and hurtles through space towards Fury 161, a work-study planet for aggressive double Y chromosome criminals, where it crash lands in a body of water. A handful of the planet's inmates discover the shuttle and realize that one of the occupants is still alive. They take Ripley's body into the med bay as the movie verifies the death of the other 2 human evacuees. First up is Newt in a cold-hearted death that upset plenty of people. She apparently drowned in her cryobed from the fire system sprinklers. Right off the bat, Alien 3 is like, nah, I don't care about them other movies, man. Corporal Hicks is also classified as dead, impaled by wreckage during the crash landing, but interestingly enough, the video game Aliens Colonial Marines reveals this wasn't actually Hicks, but a dude named Turk who woke Hicks up at one point and was knocked into his cryobed shortly before the EEV launch. Alien lore, man, it's extensive. The prisoners also find Bishop's body and classify him as unsalvageable, but I'm gonna hold off on adding him to the count right now. As they move the EEV with a crane against some Wizard of Oz looking effects, there's a dog yapping away at something, and it turns out it's the facehugger, still alive and looking for faces to hug. Watch out, little doggy. Inside the facility, Superintendent Andrews, the warden of this place, gives a big announcement to his crew of inmates about the shuttle crash and who was rescued from it.
The survivor is a woman.
They're all clamoring because they haven't seen a woman in years, and in a series of relentless low-angle shots, we find out they've taken a vow of celibacy, as prisoner Morse explains, which is a part of the religion they follow, within which prisoner Dylan is kind of a spiritual leader. More low angles also introduce us to the other 2 staff members alongside Andrews, his assistant Aaron, and medical officer Clemens, played by Tywin Lannister himself, Charles Dance. When Clemens goes to administer more medicine to Ripley, she wakes up and asks the usual who, what, where. He tells her the deeds, and when she asks if the others made it, he says no. Lannister always shakes his head. Ripley jumps out of bed in her birthday suit to go check out what happened on the ship. Clemens gets her some clothes and escorts her to the EEV that they're hauling in. Ripley rummages around inside until she spies with her crazy blood eye a burn on the side of Newt's stasis pod. She wants to see the body, so Clemens takes her to the facility's morgue, where Ripley presses him to do an autopsy under the guise of looking for communicable diseases.
Cholera?
Yeah, Clemens, ain't you ever play Oregon Trail? With some pleading, he obliges and cuts open Newt in an off-screen manner after the original version of the scene was deemed way too graphic by literally everyone who saw it. But Ripley wants to go further than his initial analysis.
Chest. Open the chest.
And Clemens follows through, because a Lannister always breaks a chest. Ripley's relieved there's no chest burster inside, but before Clemens can ask what kind of prize she was looking for inside this little crackerjack Newt, Warden Andrews walks in, all pissed off that Ripley has been allowed out of the infirmary. Ripley insists they cremate the bodies, and Clemens backs her up, borrowing her lie.
An outbreak of cholera would look extremely bad on a report.
The warden relents and says they can go ahead and burn the bodies if, that's what they're into. Meanwhile, another inmate, Murphy, finds his dog Spike with a messed up face. Looks like the facehugger ended up getting a hold of that Rottweiler. And that dog is clearly a Rottweiler, not like a Doberman. I know, dogs. And so we get a real weird cinematic treat when it comes time for the cremation, as Warden Andrews gives the speech with his face superimposed alongside Clemens and Ripley over the other prisoners, all of it intercut with shots of the dog writhing around in pain. Really fucking weird. Dylan overtakes the warden's speech and gives a much more moving eulogy as the bodies of Newt and I guess that Turk guy are cast into flame, right as the alien completes its very bloody birthing process and pops out of that dog. This movie introduces the idea that the alien is genetically influenced by its host life form, so Alien 3 features a quadrupedal alien known as a runner. Nasty looking thing. Ripley gets a nosebleed at the funeral, so maybe that's why she feels the need to shower off. She also shaves her head at the suggestion of Clemens to avoid the planet's lice problem. Her buzz cut does nothing to disinterest the inmates there, who practically wet themselves at the sight of a lady in their midst. Dylan tries to warn Ripley off by telling her that he and everyone else there is a murderer and rapist of women, but Ripley cools a cucumber.
I guess I must make you nervous.
This seems to be good enough for Dylan, who simply warns her that they've got a good thing going right now and don't want any temptations to ruin it. It's afternoon chores time, I guess, and Murphy is scraping a giant exhaust pipe with a metal rake or something when he finds some nasty-looking skin on the ground, kind of like Brett did back in the original. Then he sees something down a ventilation shaft and thinks that it's Spike. Yeah, only if Spike's a freaking alien, idiot. The runner spits some acid into Murphy's face, which causes him to fall and stumble down this shaft that I didn't even know had that decline, straight into a giant 9-foot fan they have there, which cuts them all to pieces. Clemens gives Ripley the backstory of Fury 161, how it used to be a huge prison labor camp until it was closed a few years back by Weyland-Yutani. 22 of the inmates decided to stay there and do their religious thing, and so a staff of 3 custodians stayed as well to watch over them in the foundry. When he tries to get some info out of her in return, she changes the subject real hard.
Attracted to me.
In what way?
In that way.
Clemens takes her up on the distraction sex, and damn, Charles Dance, he's looking pretty good. I guess a Lannister always trains his pecs. Andrews yells at Clemens for letting Ripley loose in the first place and tells him that company higher-ups gave him a call and told him to keep a close eye on Ripley. Ripley heads back to the Sulaco escape vehicle and rips out the ship's giant sim car. Then she goes outside of the junkyard and finds where Bishop's body was shown. It's just a little dirty. It's still good. It's still good. On her way back inside from the best dumpster dive ever, though, she's cornered by a group of inmates who attack her and hold her down against a railing so they can rape her. Luckily, Dylan enters the ring and knocks him out the box, then proceeds to beat the shit out of the would-be rapist with a pipe. He tells Ripley to take off, but she makes sure to get her own licks in before she does. In another part of the facility, there's a trio of inmates doing measurements using, like, candles or something. This movie's not great at explaining shit to the audience. They notice some of the further placed candles are getting blown out, so one of them, Rains, goes to check it out, expecting it to be just a prank bro from another inmate. Instead, it's just the prank bro from the Xenomorph, who rears up and knocks him down, and eats him in the foreground of the shot. The other 2 prisoners, Boggs and Gallic, end up finding Rains' body all bloodied and battered, our 4th kill of the movie. When Boggs looks up towards the ceiling, the alien shows itself again, lifting him up to kill him in a way that sprays blood all over Gallic's face. Are you proud of yourself, Mr. Moore? Yeah, I bet you are. Gallic runs away to avoid giving the alien runner a hat trick. Ripley takes her dumpster bot to a room where she can put some skin flaps back in place and hotwire him like a stolen Camaro. He comes to and reads the SIM card for her, so she sits right back and hears a tale of a broken ship that evac because a fire started from an acid trip. Then he asks Ripley to just go ahead and deactivate him because he'll never be a whole robot again.
I'd rather be nothing.
Ripley complies and shuts Bishop down for good, so I'll go ahead and add him to our list as the 6th victim of the movie. Gallic is brought into the med ward, and while the warden thinks he just went crazy and killed Rains and Boggs on his own, Gallic insists they were murdered by a creature.
It's a dragon.
Ripley pops out of hiding to back up the dragon tail, but is met with the usual resistance from the man with authority. Andrews mocks her for the very idea of the Xenomorph and tells her the company is sending a pickup to retrieve her soon. He also informs her that there are no guns anywhere on the planet.
This is a maximum security prison, and you have no weapons of any kind?
Fun fact, the no guns thing was actually a stipulation of Sigourney Weaver, who served as a producer on this movie and is very anti-gun in real life, despite admitting that it was fun to shoot some at a range with James Cameron. Back in the infirmary, Ripley starts coming down with a cough, so Clemens prescribes her some drugs. While he's mixing up his cocktail, he delivers a monologue about his past, which is a real nice way for him to go out since he gets surprise killed by the alien, who grabs his head and lifts him up to headbutt him. His body falls to the ground, clean as a whistle, so I guess he doesn't shit gold after all. The weird-looking alien crawls up to Ripley and gets all up in her face in what's probably the most iconic shot of the movie. He says hello twice, once with each jaw, but then he pieces out with Clemens' body and leaves her to live. Andrews has another company meeting where he tells the inmates about the whole Rains, Boggs, Gallic hullabaloo, and when Ripley rushes in to interrupt him with breaking news about the alien, he tries to hush her up. The alien drops down and pulls him up into the ceiling, leaving nothing but a light drizzle of blood for all the prisoners to see. With the warden gone, the inmates try to decide who should lead them now. Aaron tries to take control, but the other guys say he's too dumb. After all, his nickname is 85 after his... reported IQ. Dylan rejects his own nomination, saying he's not the officer type, and turns to Ripley to guide them instead. She starts brainstorming, but ain't nothing that works on this goddamn planet, as angry inmate Morse explains to her in a not-so-pleasant manner. They settle on a plan to trap the alien in a nuclear waste containment room that was never used, and then they go check out a bunch of barrels of quinitracetylene. What is quinitracetylene, you ask? Like the big stupid idiot you are? It's a highly explosive chemical, as inmate David, played by the late Pete Postlethwaite, explains to Ripley.
Saw a drum of this stuff fall into a beachhead bunker once. The blast put a tug in dry dock for 17 weeks. Great stuff.
In case anyone's confused about the plan, Dylan recaps the whole thing for us.
We want to burn it down out of the pipes, force it here, slam the door, and trap its ass.
Yep, so the inmates start spreading the quinitracetylene all over the ventilation shafts in the first of various schemes in this movie that involves all these bald dudes getting outsmarted by an alien. Take this guy Frank, who drops his ignition stick, but thankfully not all the way down. As he climbs down to retrieve it, the alien sees him, and on his way back up, he gets grabbed and nommed on by the alien for another kill, the 9th of the movie. Now his detonator stick does fall all the way down, right onto some quinitracetylene. This starts an explosion that tears through all the chambers and incinerates a bunch of dudes. We see a number of guys fly around like they're in a stunt show at Universal Studios, and when all is said and done, we have a parade of survivors walking around asking folks to bring out the dead. Dylan mentions that the last body they find makes 10, which I'm assuming includes Frank, so I guess that's how many people die here. But in all honesty, this number doesn't make sense, since they say multiple times that there are only 25 dudes on the planet. We've already seen 5 die, and there are actually 11 dudes still alive. Ripley's still not feeling well, so she heads to the EEV's medical scanner, where Aaron helps her run this little Twinkie-looking thing along a track. It reveals that she's a hostess with the mostest, since she's got a chest burster inside. Oh no, Ripley, your nightmares have come true. And boy, this thing does not take after your good looks. Ripley has Aaron get the satellite working, but when she wants him to tell the rescue team that's on their way to turn back to avoid the alien getting out, he shuts the whole thing down, since he wants to go home to his wife and kid. Ripley leaves him to go look for the alien by herself, and Aaron gets a message from the company saying they about to be there in Amazon Prime Now time and to hold on to that room. Don't let go. Ripley's hunt leads her to what she thinks is the alien, but when she smashes it open, it's just an Oogie Boogie pipe filled with bugs. The real alien is there, turns out, but after he drops down to her, he apparently lets her live. She runs to Dylan and asks him to kill her because of her alien in utero, but he refuses with a pretty good reason.
And if it won't kill you, then maybe that helps us fight it.
Dude's got a point, so Ripley acquiesces as long as he agrees to kill her after the alien is dead. The remaining survivors have a town hall meeting in a very theatrical-looking set, where Ripley tells them the company is probably going to kill them all to get a hold of the alien, just like they did to the Nostromo crew and the Marine mission. Dylan reveals the plan is to lead the alien into the metal mold and kill it with liquid hot magma. The inmates will be the bait. Sounds like some kills to me. After inmate Troy does some wiring to get a piston working, they set out to get the alien into the piston chamber and seal it inside so they can push it into the mold and wash it with lava. The plan gets going, and inmate Kevin finds the alien feasting on a body. This kill is the mystery man that messes up all the counting logic, since this dude, apparently named Vincent, was nowhere to be seen at that town hall meeting. And yet, here he is, getting eaten. Oh well, a kill's a kill, right? The alien chases Kevin through the halls in a ridiculous first-person perspective. He climbs on walls and the ceiling, and it's like this for the next 10 minutes, with only the occasional shot of the full alien body and the weird-looking effects for it. The plan results in a lot of kills. First is Troy, who kind of loses himself and rounds a corner straight into the alien. He screams and is killed off screen, and that's one less bald dude for me to keep track of. Thanks, Troy. Next up is sadly David, when the alien gets the drop on him. One scream and a headbite later, this movie is short a mighty fine actor, even if the role I associate him most with is Roland Tembo from Lost World. Kevin, the guy who found the alien killing Vincent, now finds the alien on the ceiling and is attacked. Dylan comes in right away and pulls him down from the alien's feeding session, then drags him back into the piston chamber. But turns out it was all for naught, as Kevin bleeds out and dies. It's not your fault, Dylan. It's not your fault. The alien peeks inside the chamber and bites into Kevin's body, so inmate Eric starts to piston up. But alien pieces out, so everyone runs out to try to get him back in. Sorry, does this whole thing feel pretty Scooby-Doo to anyone else? While she's running around in the tunnels, Ripley finds 2 more bodies, and after spending way too much time logicking it out, I've determined these 2 are inmates Eric and William. I don't know why it matters that I know this, but I feel like it does. Inmate Jude finds himself running from the alien because he doesn't want to let her into his heart. But right when he's almost in the piston chamber, he gets nabbed and pulled back into the hallway by the alien in one of the bloodier kills of the movie. Morse and Gregor run straight into each other, and while they're having a giggle there, mate, the alien runs down the hall and destroys Gregor's throat, getting blood all over Morse's face. Yeah, next time take this shit more seriously, fellas. Ripley shows up and starts teasing the alien with fire, then grabs his tail and plays a game of tug of war. Dylan and Ripley lure the alien and his creepy fucking effects into the piston chamber, where Morse seals the final door to lock all 3 of them inside. The piston does its thing, pushing the alien back and back until it slams shut behind it, trapping the xenomorph and Ripley and Dylan in the metal mold of the facility. Ripley starts climbing out of it, but Dylan stays to keep the alien down there. The alien charges him and starts tearing him apart while he says really cool stuff like, "Is that all you got?" Morse is up top of the controls of the lead pouring machine, so Ripley tells him to go ahead. Pour it! Down comes the magma, covering the alien and killing Dylan in its beautiful silver water. I know some people don't like the lack of guns thing, but I like that it forced a more inventive solution to the alien problem. Although it turns out this plan isn't fully alien-proof, as the metal-casted menace leaps out the lead pool and onto a platform where it shakes around like a wet dog. Ripley's all like, yo, you coming in hot there? So she tells the alien to chill and gives it a cold shower. The temperature change turns the alien into CGI as it cracks and blows up, finally destroying it once and for all. Boom, baby. While Ripley and the inmates have been having this fun adventure, people from the company have landed at the facility and are greeted by Aaron with open arms. They immediately ask where Ripley is, and when they corner her in the foundry, the leader of the group reveals himself.
Bishop.
Ripley.
But that's not an android, it's a man, baby. Or at least he says he is, claiming to be the dude who designed Bishop. He tries to tell Ripley that they're there to help her, but when he asks her to trust him, she says no. She and Morse take a platform out over the lava, and one of the scientists shoots Morse in the leg. In response, Aaron grabs a pipe and takes it to Bishop's back, so he's shot down by the most well-armed scientist in the galaxy. He falls off a platform to his death, leaving Morse as the only surviving original inhabitant of Fury 161. Now, Ripley may not be on Drag Race, but damn she know how a death drop, because as Bishop begs her not to, she free falls backwards down into the lava pit. On her way down, but only in the theatrical release, a chest burster pops out in what's gotta be the most confusing birth of all time. Ripley becomes our 29th and final victim of the movie. And regardless of how you feel about this movie, there's no denying this is an iconic moment in the franchise. Morse is led away by the company squad, and the facility is shut down entirely. End of transmission. Like I said, one mess of a movie, but also one with more kills than either of the first two. Here, I'll show my work. Let's go to the numbers. 29 people died in Alien 3, as well as a Rottweiler, not a Doberman. The human victims include the only two female characters, Newt and Ripley, with the other 27 male, giving us a very imbalanced gender distribution. At a runtime of 115 minutes, that comes out to a kill, on average, less than every 4 minutes, a much quicker pace for this series than before. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to Clemens. It's real quick, but it looks like a great practical effect of a shattering skull. Plus, his death so early on took me by surprise. Dull machete for lamest kill will be Troy, who just rounds a corner and is never seen again. And that's it. Alien 3 was not well received, and considered a major downgrade to the first two films. I'll try to do a video one day comparing the assembly cut to the theatrical release, but for now, let's just finish off the original series with Alien Resurrection next week. Until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been The Kill Count. Hey guys, thanks a lot for watching my kill count for Alien 3. I want to thank a couple of my patrons like Ryan Jabari and Jai James O'May. I feel like I fell into Stockholm Syndrome with this movie. The more I edited it, the more I liked it. It's trying to do a lot. It just has a lot going up against it. Also, Charles Dance is awesome. Thanksgiving is coming up. What are you guys thankful for? 'Cause I'm thankful for all of you. Thank you guys so much for watching and being subscribers. See you next week. Welcome to The Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Alien Resurrection, released in 1997 and the final installment of the original Alien series. While Alien 3 was kind of a mess because of poorly executed ideas, Resurrection's problems start from the ground up. The whole tone of the movie feels off, stemming from both a script written by Joss Whedon and the direction of quirky French filmmaker Jean-Pierre Jeunet, who would later go on to do Amelie, which is a great movie. But between all the snappy one-liners and music video aesthetic, it's hard to take this movie seriously. Plus, it practically ruins the Ripley character. And that Xeno-human hybrid at the end? Well, actually, I kind of like how balls crazy that is, so I'm not going to bitch about that. Taking place 200 friggin' years after Alien 3, Resurrection follows a clone of Ellen Ripley, now infused with xenomorph powers, as she finds herself in the middle of yet another alien adventure. This alien outing features space mercenaries, crazy scientists, and swimming aliens. So let's just jump the fuck in and get to the kills. The movie begins on the Auriga, a research spaceship of the United Systems military. We see a nasty-looking clone slug of Ripley, while her voice gives a short narration that compares scientists to monsters. One of these science monsters is Getty, played by occasional Tommy Wiseau impersonator Brad Dourif. He slits the clone torso open and surgically removes the baby chest burster. He puts the C-section burster in one of those bank drive-thru tubes and then gets permission from lead scientist Ren to keep the Ripley clone alive for further study. Everybody wins! Except maybe prisoner/science experiment Ripley clone. She wakes up later in style, sporting the hottest new bag fashion and some fresh new ink, the number 8 on her wrist. And it looks like she's got both style and substance. She's an A+ student, too. Apparently her cells got some xenomorph genes mixed in with them, giving her super strength and the ability to remember things from real Ripley's past life. None of this is good news for the commander of the Auriga, General Perez, who's such a cartoon of a character that he's probably got Judge Doom chasing after him. He's concerned that a resurrected Ripley will get straight back to her fave hobby, trying to kill aliens. Aliens like the new specimen they've grown from that chest burster, another alien queen bitch. The scientists convince Perez to let them keep Ripley alive for study, and after Gettyman tells Ripley 8 about the alien queen, the clone comes to a quick conclusion. She breathes. Ren enters as Ripley 8 asks about the company, and he informs her that Weyland-Yutani doesn't exist anymore. In fact, the special edition mentions that it was bought out by Walmart. And honestly, getting rid of Weyland-Yutani is another problem for me. Why undercut the shadowy villain you built up for 3 movies? Ren assures Ripley 8 the USM will house-train the aliens and use their resources for good. We all know that's a bunch of horseshit. Headed towards the Auriga is a group of mercenaries. Aboard the Whoa, Space Betty, Bam Lamp, it's a crew of 6. Leading them is Captain Elgin, who sounds like he gargles gravel every morning.
Don't cut roughly about 600 meters. Scare.
He's romantically involved with the pilot, Hilo. His character development stops right there. Christie is the guy with some pretty sweet coupling pistols, and he's second in command on ship. Head mechanic Breeze is a paraplegic who doesn't feel anything in his leg, which gun-for-hire Joner, played by Ron Perlman, goes at lengths to make fun of, all while acting like a monkey. What you doing, Ron? His monkeying around bothers Call, another mechanic played by Winona Ryder, who only recently joined the Betty Band. The Betty boards the Auriga in some great-looking effect shots, and they make their entrance, looking back on the track for a little green bag. Perez meets with Elgin, where they have themselves a laser liquor. Perez slides Elgin a fat stack of cash. It's payment for the cargo the Betty brought, a bunch of people asleep in cryogen. See, the USM scientists are going to wake these folk up and give them a continental breakfast, but the only thing on the menu is Xeno eggs, face hugger side up. The eggs have a synchronized birthing session and get real nasty runny as the captives wake up and scream in terror. After that is the infamous basketball scene where Ripley 8 gets hit on by Joner before bouncing a ball into his balls like a baller. Now we get to see the full picture of the clone's power. Her physical strength is shown when she takes a weight plate to the face and kicks everyone's ass real easy. Her acid blood is revealed when it dissolves a bit of the floor. And her Harlem Globetrotting skills are proven on her way out the door. Fun fact, that shot was really made by Sigourney Weaver, although contrary to urban legend, it was not done in one attempt. Well, it doesn't. Ripley's performance and the mention of her name makes Paul perk up, and then Gettyman wraps up the scene, teasing the eventual crossover. He heads to his merry-go-round of Xenomorphs and selects one of the holding cells to examine more closely. And by examine more closely, I mean act like an undisciplined child in the zoo. He and the alien end up making fuck-me-eyes at each other until the alien scares him with a head bite to the glass. In response, Gettyman blasts the alien with some liquid nitrogen, a lesson the alien takes to heart pretty quickly. Paul gets punch-drunk and spills Joner's special brew, so he banishes her from the drinking table. Turns out she was just faking being a freshman, and she uses the opportunity to go find Ripley 8 in her prison cell. She goes to kill her, but stops when she sees the incision scar on Ripley 8's chest. Apparently, Call is familiar with Ripley and the whole parasite scheme. Yeah, Ripley, we mean you're nasty alien. Ripley 8 then tries to play the knife game, but, I think they're doing it. When Call asks what she is, Ripley 8 says she's Ellen Ripley. Call ain't buying it. She is not her. Ellen Ripley's whole appeal was how relatable she was. Ripley 8's not relatable at all. She's just a cocky, shifty weirdo who's into touching faces. After Call gets away from creepy Ripley, she's apprehended by Ren and the USM. They round up the others in the mess hall, minus Breeze, and tell them they're all about to die for Call's, quote, terrorist activities. Don't know why they don't just, kill them. But instead, they give Christie enough time to deploy his Wild Wild West guns and Real West Desperado on these. He shoots 5 guards in some music video shots, showing them that they don't want nada. And while he's wiki wilding out on the guards, Joner turns his thermos into his gun and blows a hole through a 6th guard. The 7th guard holds Christie at gunpoint. But in a ridiculous video game bank shot, Christie bounces around off the ceiling for a headshot to wrap up these first 7 kills in the movie. Meanwhile, Gettyman's got an issue of his own when the Xenomorphs figure out a way to freedom. 2 of them team up on a 3rd and headbite into death until it's lying in a bloody, corrosive mess on the floor of their containment cell. It burns a hole big enough for them to escape through, and when Gettyman foolishly walks over to look inside the hole, he of course gets grabbed and pulled down. When another guard goes to look at Gettyman, an alien appears on the other side of the glass and tongue punches the punish button, spraying the guard down with liquid nitrogen, which freezes him in place. His arm breaks off for a pretty great kill, so thanks for learning how to use those buttons, aliens. Behavioralism works. Paul tries to explain the alien threat to the Betty crew, but an alarm goes off and interrupts him. General Perez wakes up in a cartoonish way and shows off his cartoonish shoulder hair, then yells at his crew to get aboard the ship's evacuation pod. Looks like these things fit 6 grunts apiece, and one of them manages to get away successfully. But while they're loading the last one, an alien climbs up the side of it and slides into it like it's a DM, where it then proceeds to murder the occupants with some bloody splashes against the window and a shot reminiscent of Jurassic Park when it pulls down a dude trying to escape. Perez takes a grenade and pulls it like it's fucking Fred Flintstone. Yabba Dabba drops into the pod right before it takes off. Then Perez cartoonishly presses the detonator to destroy it, killing the alien inside. My kill count doesn't include aliens, but it will include cartoon characters, I guess, since after Perez realizes there's an alien behind him and is all like, oh, gosh, he gets killed by a head bite to the back of the head. He's going on the list. At least this is a fun take on this classic kill, since Perez has enough time to reach behind him and pull out a piece of brain from the movie. Fun stuff. Elsewhere, the Betty crew is wandering around, and Elgin inexplicably separates himself from the rest of the group. Maybe to go practice being handsome. He finds a sticky, icky gun, and then a claw from below breaks the grate he's standing on, causing him to fall into the floor. An alien comes up behind him underground and kills him with a head bite through the back. That's still a head bite, right? Since it's coming from the alien's head? I don't know. The Betty crew finds Elgin, but are forced to run away when the alien steps out and starts chasing them. But then the alien is turned back by a scent or something. Turns out it's the smell of gun muzzle. One shot later, and there's a hole in that alien's head, and out from the ground comes a leather-bound Ripley 8. She escaped her holding cell earlier when she used her acid blood to trip some wires and open a conveniently Ripley-sized wall panel in her room. Now she's in the center of action again, and she's got some awful Joss Whedon lines to spout on.
But I have to get off this foot.
Hey, Resurrection, why you gotta...
I have a question.
You can ask me any...
Ripley. She's trying to get off in such a hurry because Ren admits to there being 12 more aliens aboard the ship. Despite calls concerns that Ripley might be playing for Team Alien, Christie insists that everyone there stick together to get off the ship successfully. That includes the one USM grunt they spared, a guy named DeStefano, who's played by Raymond Cruz, aka Chico fucking Salamanca. An elevator door opens up to reveal Breeze, so they all have a happy reunion. And Ripley notes that the ship is moving. Turns out the emergency procedure for the Auriga is to autopilot back to home base, Earth, which apparently isn't a popular destination these days. To spare the planet of an alien infestation, Paul says they need to blow up the ship. Christie gets all pissed and says, not as long as they're on it. Yeah, dude, obviously do it after you get off. Why you gotta be so pissed all the time? On their way back to the dock to escape in the Betty, Ripley 8 finds a door very helpfully marked 1 through 7. She walks inside to find something straight out of Jessica Lange's Cabinet of Curiosity. It's all the USM's failed attempts to clone Ripley and the Queen Alien embryo, most of which are grotesque Hellraiser-looking monsters. She finds one of the clone attempts still alive on life support, and when it asks Ripley 8 to kill her, the Alpha clone complies, torching that one as well as all the other test tube babies in the room. I've decided not to include these on the kill count because I feel like that's getting messy, so we'll just stick to fully formed humans and synthetics for now. I don't know what route they're taking to get to the dock, but apparently it goes through the room where all those captives were getting based on. We see 5 dead bodies here with holes in their chest, obviously victims of Chesky the Chestburster's extended family. So that's another 5 that go up on the list. Ripley finds a 6th dude, but it turns out he's alive. He's an overacted character named Purvis, who really feels like one of those NPCs in a game that you wind up failing the mission over after you kill them for being so annoying. Looking at you, Boris from GoldenEye. Purvis doesn't pass Ripley's smell test since she announces he has one of them inside him.
What's in fucking inside me?
Chill, Ripley tells him, and the group decides to take him along and freeze him on the Betty, with the hope that doctors can fix him in the future after they unfreeze him. You know, the old Walt Disney special. When Durant takes him to a big ladder, Breeze ditches his chair and straps onto Christie's back for a little reverse Master Blaster action. The ship is flooding with water from cooling tanks, possibly something the aliens did, which is a ridiculous thing to think about. But actually, it's okay, because when Ren tells them they have to swim through the kitchen to get to a freight elevator, it begins the coolest sequence in the movie, hands down. All of them dive in and start swimming, although Ripley's got some questionable form going on there, looking like a little puppy mermaid or something. Fun fact, these actors all trained for weeks to be able to do this for real. That's actually them swimming, and I think that's freaking awesome. A couple of aliens went in on the fun too, though, and they start swimming after the group in a real terrifying manner. Donor is able to fire his thermos gun underwater, and he blows one of the aliens up with it, but the other alien keeps up its pursuit, and eventually catches up with Hillel. He grabs her foot and pulls her back into the water, where she presumably drowns and or gets bitten by the xenomorph for a 20-second kill. Everyone else makes it to the other side, but turns out someone left the pool cover on, so they're not able to surface it. When they finally break on through to the other side, they find themselves surrounded by a bunch of alien eggs that immediately start hatching facehuggers, one of which pounces onto Ripley and sinks her down into the water. The rest of the humans dive under again to avoid the same fate, and Christie uses a grenade launcher to launch a couple of nades near the eggs. They blow up like a bazillion times. Are all these explosions from 2 grenades? Is it the same explosions from different angles? Who knows? Ripley bites the facehugger off, and everyone gets out of the pool to start climbing up the ladder in the freight elevator shaft. At the top, Ren has some problems opening a door, so he gets Call's gun from her and promptly shoots her in the tummy. She does a high dive belly flop into the pool below, where she sinks to the bottom like the Nevermind. Ren makes his mustache twirling getaway and locks the door behind him, leaving the rest of the group to deal with the xenomorph that jumps out of the water and starts pursuing them up the ladder. The alien is able to spray some acid into Christie's face, which starts melting and is a real problem for both him and Breeze, who's still strapped onto his back. They swap places as the alien grabs Christie's foot and tries to pull him down. Get off my foot, bitch! Donor pulls a real Tomb Raider looking move and ends up shooting the alien in the head, so it dies with a big explosion. And because the only good bug is a dead bug, he also shoots a spider that spooked him on the ladder. But the alien corpse just won't let go of Christie's foot, and instead of just shaking it off, he unstraps himself from Breeze's back and falls to his presumable death, probably drowning him. Honestly, seems like the dude just kind of gave up there. The door they're locked out of finally opens for them because it turns out Winona Ryder got a call back. She's He's here to save the day. Stefano survived via body armor, but Ripley 8 investigates further and finds out that Call isn't a person, she's a goddamn robot. Second-gen robot, meaning she's a robot who was designed by goddamn robots. The Autons, as they're called, rebelled against Weyland Yutani and then went into hiding. Stefano gets fucking pumped about it, like he's selling meth in a junkyard.
Man, I never thought that I would see one.
Paul sticks a wire from the ship into her arm and starts reading out the ship's diagnostics. He can't make the ship self-destruct anymore because they don't have enough energy left, so instead they set a course for the ship to just crash into Earth. Seems a bit irresponsible to crash the ship into Earth, but hey, what do I know? I just live here. Ripley 8 directs her to do a bunch of other things, like clear a path to the Betty and remote start the ship, all while Jean-Pierre Jeanette shines a ring light directly into Winona Ryder's eyes. When Ripley 8 helps patch her up, Paul makes clear she's got some people in her.
There's part of it too. I'm just disgusting.
Girl, you need some self-love. They're not far from the dock when Ripley 8 decides she needs to get weird with the floor grate, and then she's pulled down beneath it. She crowd surfs the Sea of Xeno, but she ends up sliding down, so Call and Purvis leave her and just pray for a quick death. As the Auriga approaches Earth, the crew gets back on the Betty. Before they're able to put Purvis to cryobed, he gets shot in the chest by Ren, who then takes Call hostage. While Ren delivers an evil monologue, Purvis starts to show, and then he charges at Ren like a zombie. I don't know when chestbursters began giving their hosts superpowers, but Purvis survives a whole bunch of bullets and then beats the crap out of Ren. I just want to stress how stupid this is to me. However, I can almost forgive the whole mess because of the kills it gives us. Purvis gives a death yell that reaches the chestburster inside him, which then pops out of his chest and through Ren's head, giving us a chest-bursting, head-biting tube. Definitely a highlight of this movie. Make sure everyone in that bloody threesome is dead for sure. The others all unload on them at close range. Hey look, Getterman is still alive. Apparently having been reserved by the aliens for, like, energy. There's also a few Auriga crew members in the chamber with him, who I think we can add to the list. I see 3? Let's call it 3, although it is kind of hard to tell. Gettyman tells Ripley 8 that the alien queen has also absorbed some human DNA and has created a more perfect union of cells, because she has a human reproductive system now. I don't know how much of an upgrade that is. I think most women I know would rather lay a few eggs than go through this. Go through what she does. And out pops this monstrous abomination. He's got human DNA. He's got Xeno DNA. And he is one bad, ugly dude. He also has a bit of a temper tantrum. He straight up punches Alien Queen's jaw. I guess he's a bigger fan of his people. The newborn turns to Ripley 8 and appears to have a fondness for licking her up and down with affection. Pretty gross, but I take it over what the newborn does to Gettyman. He approaches and snaps at him, literally biting off the top of his head. It's an awesome kill for an awesomely creepy character. As the mechanics inexpertly start the Betty up and pilot her off the Auriga, Ripley 8 manages to escape the nursery down there and run her way to the ship, where she jumps across a chasm to get aboard. Sounds like the perfect time for a snappy Joss Whedon. I thought you were dead.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
You've been alive for like a day. Who would have told you that? Ripley 8 takes over the controls, but apparently something is wrong with the ship. Call checks on it since she's a paranoid android, and she finds out the problem is the newborn, who somehow made his way onto the Betty in a mimicry of the final sequences in the first 2 movies. He helpfully shuts the cargo door for them, so Ripley 8 manages to pilot the Betty out of the Auriga. After Call rolls her way into a hiding spot away from the inquisitive newborn, Stefano comes around to check out. He instead finds the newborn, who grabs him with his giant hands and straight up crushes his head for the 30th kill of the movie. Tight, 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 yeah! Ripley 8 then goes to the back to see what's going on, and she finds her grandbaby fondling Call's face as he takes after his creepy grandma. At least Ripley 8 will probably have an awesome line here, calling back to the famous quote in Aliens, right?
I'm not really a cupcake, but I am super baked. Thanks to Mood Canopy.
Mood is third-party test.
Put it down!
Or it could be not awesome at all. Well, Ripley 8 shows the newborn how creepy face touching is really done, and they just, I don't know, man, they just kind of rub faces against each other for a while. This is making me very uncomfortable. She puts an end to whatever this is by taking some blood from her hand and whipping it onto a space wing. A hole burns through and some violent decompression starts, which pulls the newborn up against the breach. It howls in pain at the prolapse it's experiencing and struggles to get away from it. But eventually, the suction is too much, and the newborn gets pulled through the hole little by little inside out. It's a pretty cool sequence, although the CGI guts in space aren't great. But all the practical stuff inside the ship is fucking gruesome and gross in the best of ways. Ripley cries as she watches it all end with a big finale via the newborn's skull breaking apart through the window. Hell yeah. The newborn's not the only one having a space accident, since the Auriga continues on its collision course with Earth. The speaker system on the ship counts down until the impact, which kills the xenomorphs on board with a giant nuclear explosion. I've read that this crash was in an uninhabited part of Africa. But you know what? I think that's just what Call tells herself to be able to sleep at night. Finally, the Betty is able to break through Earth's atmosphere, which gives Call and Ripley 8 a nice view out the window. Jonah celebrates by grabbing Breeze and kissing him, since inappropriate face touching is a theme of this movie, I guess. Call and Ripley look down at Earth, which doesn't look like that much of a shithole to me. Call wonders aloud what happens next.
I'm a stranger here myself.
Yeah, you're a stranger to all of us, too, 'cause you're not Ripley, damn it. But while the movie only character assassinated Ripley, it actually assassinated a bunch of other characters. Let's Let's find out how many and get to the numbers. What? I thought this was gonna attack me? It's just a stuffed animal. By my count, 30 humans died in Alien Resurrection, most of the original series. Hillard and one of the chestburster victims from the Betty was the only women I saw, the rest of the victims being men, but it's hard to know with some of those group deaths. Resurrection also had the shortest runtime of the series at 109 minutes. That gives it a kill on average of 360 minutes, which is also the most frequent of the series. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to the twofer of Purvis and Ren. I love the combo factor to it. Chest bursting and head biting are the two most iconic ways the xenomorphs kill people. Okay, no most knows. Skull machete for lamest kill will be Christie, simply because I feel like despite the acid to the face, he was doing alright. He just couldn't hang in there. And that's it. Alien Resurrection came out in 1997 and proved to be the end of the original Alien series. Although there were talks of a fifth Alien movie, they got set aside when the Alien vs. Predator movie started happening, which I'm sure I'll get to one day. Next week is December, and that means there's a killer snowman on our horizon with Jack Frost. Until then, I'm James H. Neese. It's been the Kill Count. Hey guys, thanks a lot for watching my Kill Count for Alien Resurrection. Another series down. How you guys feeling? You guys ready for some Jack Frost and Black Christmas? I hope you enjoyed the Thanksgiving special I gave you. I'll try to do specials when I can. I like doing holiday specials, I just don't always have the time for them. Speaking of which, I got another little bonus video coming for you tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for it. Also, we passed 300K, that's awesome. Hope you had a nice and safe Thanksgiving. Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Prometheus, a 2012 prequel to the original Alien quadrilogy. Prometheus was made by Ridley Scott, who directed the first Alien film back in 1979. And you'd think with his return to the series, this movie would be a slam dunk. Unfortunately, I found it pretty mediocre and frustrating. And at times it even felt like I was just watching that first movie all over again, only without any xenomorphs. That's because Ridley Scott and co-writer Damon Lindelof, showrunner of Lost, didn't want Prometheus to set up any specific storyline from the old movies, and instead were more interested in only visually referencing those films. So for Prometheus's aliens, they wanted all new creations, although sometimes they end up feeling like B-grade xenomorphs. And why make new shit if it's all just crappier versions of old shit? Looking at you, most remakes. So although this movie's got a hell of a cast, from the OG Lisbeth Salander to everyone's ideal James Bond, and it looks absolutely beautiful, from all the sweeping landscape shots to the way it perfectly combines
Yeah.
practical effects and CG, I just couldn't fall in love with Prometheus. I think the best thing I can say about it is that it's very ambitious. It really wants to engage with lofty, even biblical questions like where did we all come from and what does it all mean? Too bad the movie ultimately forgets to be entertaining and mostly leaves you yelling at the characters for making stupid choices. Thankfully, we all know that stupid choices often lead to people dying. Let's find out how many victims there are and get to the kills.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
The movie begins with gorgeous shots of an ancient Earth's landscape, played by northeastern parts of present-day Iceland. Great acting there, Iceland. An alien figure walks towards a spaceship hovering over the real-life Dettifoss waterfall and takes off his robe to, oh my god, that is the most ripped being I've ever seen. Yo, this dude gives Mr. Universe a new meaning. Watch your traps, Arnold. As his transport leaves, this engineer consumes a weird-looking substance that breaks him down at a molecular level, causing a horrific disintegration that looks pretty damn cool. And fun fact, the VFX house that did this effect, Weka, also created the snap in Infinity War. You know what? That makes sense. Oh, and by the way, I'm not putting engineers on the kill count. Yes, I know they're as humanoid as they come, but if I make it a precedent to include them, I'll be screwed when I get to Covenant. Anyway, with this dude's genes going every which way, these aliens just said, let there be title card, or light, let there be light. We jump to 2093, where a science vessel named Prometheus is cruising through space. And just as a refresher, the original Alien took place more than 100 years after this, in 2122. Walking around the Prometheus is David, a very obvious android character played by potentially real-life android Michael Fassbender. He just looks so perfect. How can he be real? David's the only one awake right now and spends his time doing trick shots, learning human languages, and soaking up human culture. But don't let his Lawrence of Arabia-inspired aesthetic fool you. David knows how advanced he is and is pretty damn resentful of all the lowly meatbags he has to watch over. After nearly 2.5 years of traveling time, the Prometheus is finally approaching its destination, spelling an end to David's solitude. The first human to awaken, all on her own, is Meredith Vickers, a Wayland Company woman played by bona fide action superstar Charlize Theron. David gets everyone else up out of their sleep pods, and all of a sudden, we've got a ship full of characters to meet. Hey look, it's that douche from Fallen Kingdom, trying to make friends with that whispery villain from Mission Impossible. And right over there is Liza Aaron. Most exciting for me, though, is Idris Elba playing the ship's captain, Yannick. That dude is the coolest motherfucker alive, man. Vickers holds a meeting to brief the Prometheus's crew, and part of her presentation involves a holographic tape made by the recently deceased Peter Weyland, who this movie says is the founder of Weyland Corps. So I guess we're just retconning away Charles Bishop Weyland from Alien vs. Predator. But hopefully, the Scar-Lex relationship is still canon. Peter Weyland is played by Guy Pearce in disgusting lizard man-looking makeup, and he introduces the rest of the crew to Doctors Elizabeth Shaw and Charlie Holloway, a pair of archaeologists who are also in love. Shaw is played by Noomi Rapace of the Swedish Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series, while Holloway is played by Logan Marshall Green, who would go on to be in more horror films like The Invitation and Lee Winnell's Upgrade. Holloway says that ancient artifacts collected from throughout the ages all point to the same constellation of stars that's too far from Earth for any of these early civilizations to have known about, unless aliens. The constellation's got a planet, the planet's got a moon, bing bang boom, that's where the Prometheus has just arrived. At the satellite, known as LV-223, Fifield, that Seamus-looking geologist back there, asks Shaw what she thinks they'll find.
We call them engineers.
Do you mind telling us what they engineered?
They engineered us.
Although the holographic lizard man had said Shaw and Holloway were in charge of this mission, Vickers brings them to her penthouse-looking room, which is actually a separate module of the ship, complete with a tanning bed-looking med pod thing, to tell them not to be mistaken. She's the boss bitch around here. Yeah, no kidding. Look at that power space pantsuit. Prometheus descends towards the satellite and enters its atmosphere, which is noted to be very high in CO2 and lethal for humans to breathe. So yeah, this place is dangerous, but it also looks damn pretty as they fly through its sky. Say what you will about these characters or this storyline, Ridley Scott knows how to kill a film. I especially love this valley they fly into, which is made from an actual desert valley in Jordan combined with a background shot of some mountains in Iceland. Awesome. In this valley, the Prometheus crew spies an alien structure, so Yannick sets the ship down nearby and everyone takes in the view. Yeah, that's worthy of a head smooch for sure. A ground team suits up to look like Terran Marines, and David joins them in the outfitting, even though he'd be fine without a spacesuit. He explains that he does it so he won't make any of the meatbags uncomfortable.
Making you guys pretty close, huh?
Not too close, I hope.
Damn, David's got some people problems. They head out in a Land Rover and a couple of ATVs and eventually enter the Hollow Alien Temple, as others, such as Yannick and Vickers, watch on monitors from back aboard the Prometheus. Inside, it's looking pretty OG alien in there, Mr. Scott, but at least we get these cool X-Bomb looking drones that set out to map the alien cave system around them and transmit the 3D map back to the Prometheus. I don't care who you are, that's cool technology. They get to a rainy shaft where they see that the CO2 levels are so low, they don't even need those fish bowls on their heads anymore.
There's something generating an atmosphere.
Cleaner than Earth, actually.
I mean, that's cool and all, but maybe still wear that shit in case of alien bacteria or something? Then again, I'm not a spacefaring scientist, so what the fuck do I know, right? These helmetless yahoos walk around some more before David finds some ectoplasmic goop on the wall and then somehow beat boops a combo of bit-bops to start a light show in the hallways that depicts a bunch of holographic engineers running for their lives.
What the hell was that?
I don't know, y'all. You tell me. Seems like some kind of security footage from the past or something. Because after they see one engineer get decapitated by a door, they walk up and find its body right where the light show left it 2,000 years ago. Finding hard evidence of alien existence is too much for Fifield, so he and biologist Milburn, played by Rafe Spall, leave to head back to the ship. After they leave, David once again somehow bim-bams the door open.
Wait. We don't know what's on the other side.
Oops, sorry.
Jeez, I thought 3PO was insufferable. Behind the door, they find Olmec, he of the Hidden Temple, as well as that engineer's head and a whole bunch of bases. Although I'm a little annoyed at how this looks like that room from Alien, only with bases instead of eggs. I've got to give props to Prometheus for building so many fully sized kick-ass sets. They built them at Pinewood Studios on the famous 007 stage, the single biggest film stage in Europe, which, as its name suggests, is where they shot a bunch of James Bond movies. The team begins to explore, not noticing these little wormy guys on the ground, before an incoming storm outside causes the Prometheus crew to call them back. As the scientists bag the decapitated engineer head, David sees some black tar-looking goop emerging from the bases and steals one of the urns without anyone else noticing. They reboard their land vehicles and try to outrun the storm back to the Prometheus. And despite a head mishap and the silica storm catching up to them, David's able to Batman them back aboard the spaceship where they're mostly safe and sound. There's only one problem. Turns out Fifield and Milburn never made it back and instead got lost in the alien tunnels. How did the crew aboard the Prometheus, watching them on camera, allow them to get lost? I have no idea, but with the storm raging outside, these two are going to have to bunker down for the night. The scientists sterilize the engineer head and discover that its cabal-looking visage is actually just a mask, and that the engineer's real head looks pretty damn human underneath. This should be a pretty big deal to alien fans. We've known these gigantic elephantine engineers since the original film, but most people just assume that that's how they look, and not that they were wearing a helmet or anything. Now we're learning that that figure the Nostromo crew found is actually one of those super buff engineers like the dude we saw by the waterfall earlier. Shaw gets the genius idea to, what, cattle prod the brainstem?
I think we can trick the nervous system into thinking it's still alive.
Sounds like a fun time for a sadist. But they do it anyway, and after the head wakes up and starts bleeding all over the place, it eventually explodes like a peep in a microwave. Yeah, David, sorry we're not all perfect animals like you. They examine the mess left over and discover that the engineer's DNA exactly matches human DNA. So, wow, I really don't have a good excuse for not including engineers on the kill count other than inconvenience. But I'm still sticking to it. David, meanwhile, opens his new base to find,
Yeah, I'm pretty sleepy. Need to take me back to sleep. This is usually why I don't do about 2-hour streams, so here we go. I have to finish this. I did make some progress this time, so as a matter of fact, let me save it real quick right there. Keep working on it bit by bit, but it is coming out very nicely. Oh man. Oh. But I do apologize for not being in it. I'm just really, really sleepy, man. I'm just gotta get some good old sleep. So, I will see you guys next time, and I'll be on Monday, where I'm going to be doing fighting games from Capcom Fight Collection 2, doing all that. That'll be fun. But until then, I will see you in the next one because it was good. It's just peace.